which keeps it from being quite so rushed. You get more accomplished during that time. And I want to brag on our SRO, Officer Kimmons. He has been in every single classroom in our building and done the ALICE training with the students. And then we gave them the procedures for doing the, we call it intruder drill. And so I think the state calls it active shooter drill, but we want it geared for any kind of intruder. So we did that this week with one grade level each day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and third grade was today. We did 5th, 4th, and 3rd. Takes about 5 or 10 minutes. Kids did an outstanding job with that, handled it really well. I like going and sticking my head in all the doors after the drill and just kind of taking the emotional temperature, and they're good. Yeah, because we preached to them. We hadn't had a fire, but we're going to have fire drills, you know. And we hadn't had an intruder, but we're going to have an intruder drill, just so we know what to do. So that's been handled real well, and I'm proud of Officer Kimmons and his work with that. Real pleased about that. And I do want to mention, we'll do another intruder drill at a later time. We'll probably wait a couple of weeks, and it'll be school-wide. We wanted to do a grade level at a time so we could really be in that area and see carefully what they were doing and how they were handling it.
I don't see Mr. Wolf or Mr.
Wolf had a doctor's appointment today, so the change kind of got him.
All right,
So he was gonna get back quick as he could.
Mr. Kirkendall.
Well, I think you got your yearbook, so sorry about that. I knew it was we get those kind of late. I don't know, some maybe the news of why we get our yearbooks at the high school a little bit later is because we go all the way through graduation so they can get everything in it. So kids come back in the fall and pick up those yearbooks. So Miss Medlock and her crew did a really good job getting those. So I hope you enjoy the love. They're very thorough. I think you guys are getting the announcements I'm sending. I'm kind of having fun with that, actually. A publisher, I'm probably getting a little too carried away on some of the colors and stuff. So, but trying to be, give you a lot of information that you may not be aware of. We have 18 exchange students from 11 different countries, and 16 of those are F1 students, which means they pay tuition to come here. So there's a lot of them, and I hope that usually once in the fall, we try to get those here and their host parents to kind of do a little presentation for you, so you can visit with them and talk to them and stuff and get their perspective of how things are going since they've been here. You probably know this: volleyball, tennis, golf. It's in full force, and our golf team and tennis teams are doing really well. They're having some success, and we've Mr. Biggs and I have gone out to some of the tennis matches. It's really hot. It seems like every time we play tennis, it's 97, 98 degrees, so it's kind of rough on them, but they're doing very good. We got our homecoming maids and queens selected. So our homecoming queen this year is Audrey Hampton. Senior maids are Zoe McGee and Kaylin Tyler. Junior maids Lydia Bowerman, Paige Henson. Sophomore maids are Caslin Hatton, Macy Robbins. Doing something a little bit different this year. We gave them the option so that those of you that are used to seeing everybody and hope that the dresses are all the same, they've elected to purchase their own dresses this year, and that each class is a different color. So they're really excited. I didn't know how I was going to go over, but they're like, we love it. So the moms are happy and the maids are happy. Therefore, I'm happy. Some of our FFA members have gone to the fair this week and participated. And they did some cleanup on Saturday. I just visited with Mr. Fisher before the meeting, and he's been out there with Miss Brumley. And, she's enjoying herself and representing us and getting moving, and we're moving forward. And that's a good thing. We have football tomorrow night against Springdale, and it's Little League night. We're gonna have college fair next Wednesday at the high school, and we'll have a lot of colleges and some businesses in Crabtree. Our seniors will be going to that most of the day, going to breakout sessions. Junior reading ceremony on the 26th. We have football next week at Russellville there, and then Bologna after that. So our next home game after tomorrow night won't be until October the 4th, the homecoming, when we play Farmington.
Thank you. With the state assessment report.
She's asleep over there.
No, I heard something else. Sorry.
My name is Amy Brewer, and I am, this year, my title is Student Success Coordinator. Last year, I was one of the high school counselors, and I was the district test coordinator. So we revisited some things, and so now spending a lot more time focused on the test data, and then also on the actual testing process, which we're starting next week at the middle school. So Mr. Biggs and Mr. Woolley have handed out just some assessment charts from this last year. These are all of the assessments. That's a lie. These are most of the assessments that we give in the spring. Grades K1 and 2 take the test called iStation, which is an online test, and they take it in reading and math. And then 3 through 10 take the ACT Aspire summative test in English, reading, writing, math, and science. And then in the 11th grade, there is a state-funded 11th grade ACT that's given in the spring, as well as the national test that kids can take. And the same for 12th. And then they also take AP tests. I'm going to try to cover all of those briefly, just trying to kind of hit the high points. We're going to start with the iStation test, which is kindergarten, first and second in reading. And just to kind of give you a little background information on this, this is exactly backwards from our communication with RTI. So it's kind of weird as far as that is concerned, but it's okay. Tier 1 students are our students that iStation sets a readiness standard, and these students met the 40th percentile or higher, and that was 52% of our students met that standard. Tier 2 are students that we would call close students. So they were between the 21st and 40th percentile, so they're getting there, and that was 25% of our students. And then Tier 3 students are students that would be hitting the response to intervention, the RTI groups. And there's 23% of our students in grades K through 2. Of course, it's last year's, and so of course they've been promoted now. With the math, same type of thing. We had 61% of our students meet their readiness level in math. 19% were Tier 2, and then 20% were Tier 3. And so, and I'll mention this again later as well, but we as a district staff and building staff are starting to look at this information and make some decisions on curriculum and how we're going to try to address the Tier 3s and the Tier 2s. With the Aspire testing, I mentioned this already. I do want to mention with the writing, because when you look at the test scores, you're not going to see a writing standalone test. They incorporate it as part of the ELA score, which is English Language Arts. So just you'll see English, math, reading, science, and then an ELA score, just to let you know that. So I combined all grades. Again, these are last year grades. These kids have been promoted now. Grades 3 through 10. The yellow is the ALMA percentage of students meeting the readiness standard. And with Aspire, there's 4 standard levels. There's exceeding, there's ready, there's close, and then there's in need of improvement. So the ready and the exceeding are these students. So you can see that we are above the state standard or state average in almost every category. This is for English. This is for reading. And I know I'm going through this quickly, but you can see all of it. This is the English Language Arts. So again, this is the reading, writing, and English combined score. And you can see how we compare to the state and ELA scores. And then this is the math portion, standalone math. There's actually a combined score, but the state doesn't use it for anything. It's called a STEM score, but they don't use it. And then the science scores. So all of these are just showing you how we compared to the state. And again, these students have now been promoted, and those 10th graders or 11th graders, etc. This is the 11th grade ACT. I did not include because I think in the next month we'll be doing the annual report, and that includes the averages for all of Alma High School. This is specifically just looking at the 11th grade ACT, and I was able to pull data from the last 4 years, so 2016, 17, 18, 19. And I know that's really kind of weird. I really struggled with how to show this, but the lighter color is us. The darker color is the state. So when you look at English, for example, on the left, that is 18.9, I believe. That is Alma High School average in 2016 compared to, the state average on the same test at the same time. So we have been consistently above the state average on the 11th grade ACT. And I do want to say that we test every student. We test, it's not like the national test where students sign up. This is every 11th grader that we are testing. They do have the option, 11th graders have the option to opt out. But I think last year we had one and the year before we had none. And we haven't had any in years. So that's representative of all of our students. Then advanced placement. When we looked at AP scores from this last year, we were kind of disappointed, just to tell you. But in looking at it, I don't know why we were disappointed. When you look at the percentage of our students that made a passing score, and AP doesn't like us to use passing, but passing, AP is on a score from 1 through 5, and 3 or higher is considered passing, so to speak. And so 38% of our kids last year, which is higher than it's been in the last 5 years, earned passing scores on an AP exam. And this actually breaks it down by student, same 5 years. We had fewer students last year. I don't know why. I can't give you a reason why, other than I think it's probably competition with our concurrent offerings. But that being said, we're actually offering more concurrent, and we have 30 more students signed up to take AP this year than we had last year. So I can't explain that. It's all over the place. But we did, of those 125 students taking 201 tests last year, 47 of them scored a 3, 4, or a 5, which was 38%. And that's all that I have.
Any speculation on the 6th and 7th graders?
Speculation as far as what? I'm sorry.
Why it's so terrible? I mean, you look pretty good on everything except for that.
And they were
Speculation?
good in some other areas. There has been quite a bit of conversation about that. I don't know that I have a speculative answer. We're trying to address it. I say we, the buildings and the teachers are digging in the data and trying to figure out where the gaps are.
And if I could add, Amy's new role is to address that. And she's going to be extremely helpful with helping our teachers break down the data so that we know specific to what concepts and standards we're lacking in and how we can better build our curriculum to address that. It takes time, and that's something that we really value, but we don't have a whole lot of to put teachers together and collaborate about that. But it is certainly in the works, K-12, not just specifically where our test scores indicate that it's needed.
Well, I mean, you need to get those kids caught up, right? I mean, clearly there's something happened
Yes.
somewhere along the lines. There's no telling where. It could have been preschool, kindergarten. It just so happens I've got somebody that I'm close to in that age cohort. So,
Yes.
all right.
We're like-minded on that.
How long have we been giving the ACT?
Aspire.
To the 11th graders?
Forever.
Forever?
Now, the state one, the state at 11th grade,
I
5
think
years?
it's 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I
4 or
had 4
5
years of
years.
data, so I'm gonna say 4 years.
Okay. Do we pay for that? So it
No, that's state.
so it doesn't cost the student any?
Right.
Sure.
Now, if they take it additional times, which many students do,
Mhm.
then they do pay for it.
But they can get a free one.
It's
Yes.
basically a
Yeah.
free test.
Yes. At the time that the year they probably need it the most. Is it a fall or springtime test?
It's spring,
Spring, that's even better.
late February, early March. And that's statewide.
I got you.
So it's every junior is taking the test at the same time.
Okay. But that's good. We can offer them a free chance to take it. I don't know what it costs anymore, but.
$50.50.
Moving on to the consent agenda, does anybody have any request to move the financial report out of the consent agenda? Then do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the financial report? All in favor with the right hand vote? Any opposed? Carries. The superintendent's report.
If you look, turn to item C in your packet. Many, many years ago, we began, for our own purposes, this is not a state report at all, but for our own purposes, we started keeping up with our enrollment on the Friday after Labor Day. And so that's what this chart reflects. At the extreme right edge of the page, you see the data by grade for this current school year. If you look down at the bottom right corner and do a little quick math, you'll see that we're up 57 from the same date last year. That is a very pleasing fact to have. Of course, we were it wasn't too surprising because we knew what was happening in kindergarten. As you all know, that we were having an influx and even had to add some teachers in kindergarten. But that's really good. That number hopefully will hold. Last year, one of those things I've never quite figured out. In most schools, between the beginning of school in the fall and the end of school in the spring, in most schools, enrollment declines. We have to wonder, where'd they go? If most schools decline, where'd they go? And nobody really knows the answer to that. Well, last year we went up. We ended the year with more students than we began the year with. So hopefully that'll happen again this year. I'm really pleased with that number. We're comfortable everywhere in terms of class sizes and facilities and that sort of thing. And it's interesting to look back at this chart historically, see where we've been. We actually have it all. This chart, this piece of paper begins in 1990. We actually have it back to 1970, but we ran out of room to put all that on a piece of paper, so we just left off those oldest years. But sometime when you're sitting around, you might just look at this. It's interesting to see grade by grade how things have changed over the years. The State School Board Association regional meeting is October 17th at the Fort Smith School District Central Office, which is, if you've not been there, it's right beside Ramsey Junior High. Now that's after our October board meeting, so we'll talk about it again then. But it's usually a pretty good meeting. It starts about 5:30 or 6 with dinner, over with 8:30 to 9 o'clock. So as I said, we'll get you more information about that, talk about the details at our October meeting. But I didn't want to give you the date, October 17th. And then the state meeting is December 11th through 13th. I hope your calendars are clear for that. We've got hotel reservations already made for everyone. If you end up not being able to go, that's certainly no problem. We can cancel it, but I hope you will be able to go. Those of you that have been to that before know what a great meeting it is. It's always very informative and very good. I don't have it on here, but let me mention just right quick where we are on our recovery from the flood. They probably tomorrow will finish sanding the wood. They've been working on that since Monday. Crew of about 4 people sanding it. I think they'll finish tomorrow. If they're not, I would suspect they'll stay and finish on Saturday if they don't finish up. This crew's last job is to put a coat of sealer on. And so they'll do that before they leave. Then next week, a different crew will come in to paint the stripes, put all the paint on the floor, and then put 2 coats of finish on top of that. That'll take about a week, give or take. So if everything goes right, 10 days from now, we ought to be back on it, which is, just 2.5 months. I think all things considered, it was pretty good. Some of the cabinets in the classrooms that were water damaged, we got those replacement units installed yesterday. There's a little bit of cove base and minor things like that still to get done. We've got a little bit more flooring still to install that isn't in yet, but it's supposed to be in next week in a couple of places. We're back in the locker rooms everywhere. We're very close to being complete. I think in another week and a half. I think by the time the court is finished, we're going to be completely finished with everything everywhere. Our insurance company has been great to work with. They've not questioned anything that we've submitted to them. In fact, they've been really good. They've paid us ahead of when we even had bills to pay, just based on different companies' estimates of what the costs were going to be. They've been great. Anything you want to add?
Everybody's done great.
Where are we at dollar wise?
Well, we will be completely whole when it's
No,
all.
I know that, but what's?
Oh, what's the number? It's
Yeah, where
a
are we
little
at?
over 900,000. That's what it's going to be.
926.
Is that the service master bill? in
That's
there?
everything.
That's everything.
That's everything that unless we've missed something, which I don't think we have, that's everything.
Today.
I think that's everything. We've got some things that we haven't paid the bill and the insurance company hadn't paid us yet, but that's included in that number. Because we've submitted everything that there is to submit to the insurance company. I say everything. We've got one last thing to go. When all is said and done, we're going to have a company come in and clean the arena top to bottom, because when you sand the floor, you stir up a lot of sawdust. So it's going to be dusty everywhere. So we'll have a company come in and from ceiling to floor completely clean that building. We don't have an amount on that yet, but that'll be the last thing. And of course, the insurance company knows that's coming, but we don't have that. I have to say, and I want to thank and compliment Travis. He's been the point guy on this, and he's done a tremendous job of taking care of the details, working with the various companies, working with the insurance company, and been very thorough about it. For given that his first day on the job was when this happened, it's been. I guess it's been a fun experience, but I couldn't be happier, and I can't don't know any way to brag on him strongly enough for what a great job he's done taking care of it. I really appreciate it. So I just wanted to say that.
Everybody agreed on a design for the floor.
Yeah, it's not going to be all that different than what we had. We're going to get the green right this time.
It's Kelly
That's for
green.
sure. It's the green. The green is right. We've spent a lot of time on that. The green is right, but it's not drastically different. We're tweaking a couple of things a little bit, but it's not much different.
And to add one thing there is, in January, we've got a flooring expert coming to look at the top promenade and then some more flooring at the bottom to make sure that we're where we need to be. But as right now, we think we're okay, but we have a year to submit this. So we do have an expert coming one more time to make sure that nothing came up after we kind of signed off. So we don't want to sign off until the expert says yes.
It's obviously something all of us wish hadn't happened, certainly, but if it had to happen, the process has been about as good as it could be. Everybody, all of our companies that have done the work have been very good to work with and done a good job. So I'm just glad it's about over with, for sure. I wanted to give you a kind of an update and a report on where our agricultural program is and has been and is going. First thing is to tell you about our enrollment. We've got have a total of 95 students in the program right now. 73 of those at the high school and 22 at the middle school. That number has fluctuated a little bit, but since school started, but very little, just one or two, one direction or another. And that's typical for almost all classes. That's not unusual at all. If you haven't had a chance to visit with Ms. Brumley, and I know some of you have, but I hope you all will, she is a very enthusiastic go-getter. I visited with her at length a few days ago, just taking her pulse, you might say, seeing how she was feeling about things, what issues she was having, if any, that sort of thing. She told me that things were going better than they had any right to, I guess is the way I would say it. She's enjoying it very much. She's working very well with the students. I asked her to put her thoughts about it all down for me. And I was going to just kind of read this, but I thought, I don't like going to a meeting and being read to, so I'm not going to do that either. So I'll just give this to you and you all can review it, read it as you wish. I think the program, Brian, you jump in here if you have anything to add. I think the program is off to a great start. Today was our 18th day of school. Does that sound right? So we're still just getting going, obviously. And with a new program like this, It takes some time to get things going, but I think we are absolutely headed in the right direction and couldn't be happier about that. Anybody have any comments or questions on that?
How involved have they been able to be at the fair?
Ms. Brownlee's been very involved. She had some kids out for the cleanup day, but students, because of when you started the program, they don't actually have any projects through the Allen School District. And some of those kids have projects. I mean, my kids would be one of those. But she's been there. She assisted with the hog show last night.
I'm sure that this time next year, we'll have a bunch down there.
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
I hope we're building new barns and.
Yeah.
She's as Commissioner Woolley said, she's very excited. She's just happy to be here. She's happy to be here. She's the sky's the limit. There's a lot of options, a lot of things where we can go. I know that she has a love of the, if you guys looked at the spotlight, I guess it was a week ago or maybe last week, where she was in it, and I just want to visit with you just about your background a little bit. And she, even when she's not here, when she goes home to visit her family, she works on a farm with her dad, so she's got the knowledge. In visiting with her today, I think I was telling Mr. Bristol, the thing I learned the most was that he was the swine superintendent. And, I didn't know there was such thing. So we're all learning. We're all learning.
That's right.
When does that, like for next year for the growing and the animals and all that, is that something that starts January, February, or is it late in the summer?
It depends on the project. So the hogs, the kids get their project hogs sometime in May, and then they're ready for the fair this time of year. So.
One of the things she told me that she's really concentrating on right now with the students is that very thing, helping them think about what kind of projects do they want to do and when do we need to start on it. That's kind of where they are right now. It's one of the things they're doing.
Sure. Well, they can go in there and see. And I mean, are we going to be equipped come next summer?
Well, I said to her, I said it to her 2 or 3 times, she's got to tell us what that needs to look like. And of course, she's not ready to answer that question yet, but as soon as, we talk about it a little bit frequently. It's not yet time to make any firm decisions whether we're going to do this or going to do that, but that's the conversation we're certainly having. And when she feels like that she kind of has a handle on what's appropriate, what our first steps should be, then we'll take those steps.
Yeah, because I think next year.
Sure, absolutely.
It's exciting to have a bunch of entries down there and all kinds of stuff.
If you flip to item D, I need to explain what this is because it's kind of strange in a way. This is something we have to do, and every school district in the state does this every fall. This is based on a state law, as you see there at the top, 613, 635. We have to present publicly a list of employees that, now follow me here, from year before last to last year, that their salary increased more than 5% for doing the same job. Now it's comparing year before last to last year. It's not anything that's already, it's history. It's already done, but that's what the law directs that we do. So you can see the people listed and you can see why their salary changed, and there was no change in responsibility. Some of them, we lengthened their contract because we needed them working more days of the year. Some of them got a national board certification. So there's various reasons why that the change took place. The law requires that the board review this and then approve. I don't know what exactly you're approving because it's done. But anyway.
So do we have a motion to approve the resolution, Exhibit D?
Move to approve the resolution Exhibit D.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor with the right hand vote? Aye. Any opposed?
Item E is a similar sort of thing. This statement of assurance in item E used to be about 20 pages long. They listed everything they could find in state law and state rule that we were responsible for doing. What it really is a gotcha document. So that if they find something we didn't do, they can come back and say, well, you told us you did. You signed off that you did. Well, now they just say, as you see there in the first bullet, to the best of my knowledge, the school district is in compliance with all state laws and the standards for accreditation. Well, of course we are, and of course we're always going to try to be, but we still have to approve this statement of assurance that says that as far as we know, we are and always will be.
Move to approve the statement of assurance.
Second.
All in favor with any discussion? All in favor with a right hand vote? Any opposed?
And you see, item F is a number, as we've kind of fallen into the norm of having quite a number of student transfers. Some into Alma, most into Alma, a few from Alma going to other districts. And I have those here for you to sign if you approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the student transfers.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor with a right hand vote? Any opposed? Going back to the principal's report, I see, not to put you on the spot, but I see you back there, Mr. Wolf. Do you have anything?
I do, if you will allow me a couple minutes, you're done.
Yes, we have plenty.
First of all, it's been a great school year, had a great start, lots of great things going on, but I wanted to kind of fill you in on something we're doing a little bit different that we're kind of looking forward to. In the past, of course, we have our advisory period every day, 30 minutes. And in the past, we've kind of aligned kids with a grade level teacher. So 8th graders had teachers who taught math in the 8th grade. And our teachers, a lot of them last year said, by the time the school year's over, I'm just starting to get to know these kids. So I said, why not loop them with you for 3 years? Then you can really get to know those kids. And so that's what we did this year. So 6th grade teachers who had 6th graders last year, they now have 7th graders in their advisory classes. Even though they're still teaching 6th grade, they have these same group of kids again. And one of the really interesting things that we're seeing is our 8th grade teachers who have never had 6th grade students and have now picked up these new 6th graders coming in are learning what it's like to have 6th graders and them coming into the middle school first time, not knowing what's going on. And so they're learning how to help them adapt to middle school. And I'm really excited to see in a couple years down the road what they have, having been with these kids now for 3 years. I'm thinking in a couple years, by the time they have as 8th graders, they're just going to roll that through things. So it's kind of a neat thing that we're doing with them. Thank you.
Well, I was gonna say thank you too for this. It's moved to 5 because that was for me, and just the fact that the staff, administration, the board all jumped on that. There's sometimes big events in our kids' lives, and just the fact that y'all all jumped on that to move it for one child of mine, I just wanted to say thank you for that. So I take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Second. All in favor? Hey, I didn't.
I got time to go where the water was.
Really? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of hard, but